think about the mental toughness aspect of running. When you were racing your marathons, I'm sure you had doubt in your mind. What tips and tricks did you use to push that doubt aside and perform?
Sometimes it was, you keep a running log. I kept a running log. I have my logs going back to 73. I lost my high school mini log, little notepad, but things like that a little bit. It was more your training. If I was able to do a certain amount of steady training and racing, I used my shorter races as barometers, as build-ups to the marathon. I would run the Cherry Blossom 10 mile in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks before. If I ran really good or in 47 minutes, I knew I was out. I'm ready for Boston. I love Boston because I lived there. We all trained on the course, all of us in Greater Boston. Now, the Dana-Farber group of 500 runners coached by former Boston champion Jack Foltz, they run the course. Huge numbers of people train. If you have access to the course, if you live in New York, you can train New York, Central Park. I love racing Central Park. Once I really got beat up there and dropped out in Central Park, I was trying to duke it out, trying to win the over 40, and a very determined Polish guy kicked my butt. I couldn't believe he was running so fast. I tried for 20 miles to stay with him. I dropped out to 23 miles. I was just whipped. And this is the marathon,
Well, Bill, take us back to 1978 again. And what is the best post-race food that you could have after a big race like that?
Yeah, I like quesadillas with cheese, I like all the tasty foods in the world. We all do, and it was a great time to have your favorite food, like a cheeseburger after the race or something, and but exercise science today, the pros are probably much more careful. Some of them are really intense, but I think we all have we want to celebrate, but we know more about diet. If you have a friend to run with you, that's your strength, because it's an experienced runner who can tell, let's wait and wait. We ran together for 16, 18 miles, about where I dropped out in Boston. And then I said, now I know I can finish. It was a nice cool day. Weather is everything. And most of the marathons today are held in cool weather, So big plus.
I totally agree with you as having a running buddy. And when you were running with your buddies, were they a little bit faster than you, or were you a little bit faster than them?
We had a mixture. We all had our different strengths. Greg Meyer, I couldn't stay with him on hill repeats. He was about a 4-minute miler at University of Michigan. I was a 4:18 guy, at Westland. It was pretty good. Really, I was pretty happy.
Really good.
4:18. But I could not stay with him. He was a really strong dude on the hills, ran really great in world cross country in 1978. I was with him on the team, Randy Thomas, also Craig Virgin. We took the silver medal for the United States, and Greg was the first American, I think, across the line, unless it was Guy Arbogast, who is a top runner for the U.S. too. So it is a team sport, cross country, track, and in the roads too. So look at the road runners in New York. They have 40,000 members. It's a big team. Greater Boston, we probably had 30 people. It wasn't a huge team, but it was a team, and you had your teammates. And going onto the track, I couldn't stay with Greg or a bunch of other runners if we were doing 400-meter repeats on the track, and but I could stay with them part of the workout, Once I tried to do a workout with Alberto Salazar, who's one of America's top distance runners of all time. I knew him when he was 15 years old. He joined the Greater Boston Track Club. His older brother was a runner, and he was this young Cuban-born kid who came to the U.S., and he really wanted to do well, very determined. That's our sport. At the top end, it's very fierce. Not that there's not friendship. There's friendship, and we all shake hands. But that's really why I chose, or that's why I liked road racing more than track. I liked it that at the start line you shook hands, at the end you shook hands. the once or twice I threw down my award medal to the ground, I was mad. Sometimes it gets the better of us.